Hey everyone, welcome to episode 433 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Friday, December 20th, 2024. Yep, I'm back in South Florida, back full swing at work. There has not been an episode since the post-game show, the live post-game show after the Houston game, as I noted on social media and here. The reason was the passing of my mother and me spending time in Canada to be with family and support everybody and all that. So I appreciate all the those who reached out to offer their condolences and thoughts and good vibes and all of that. And that meant a lot to me. And before we dive into all the things that happened this week, the game against the 49ers on Sunday with my good friend here, Chris Perkins from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. One last hat tip. We'll dedicate this episode to Mom. Love you, Mom. Rest in peace. And I can't even do the heart. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it'll come. There you go.
There you go.
It is, man.
Love you, Mom.
Appropriate.
There you go. Okay. So what did I miss while I was gone? I'm kidding. I did keep tabs. I didn't do a whole lot of work, but I did keep tabs because this is what I do. I'm going to start off by saying, I don't know about you, but I get frustrated with Dolphin fans who every time we present playoff possibilities and scenarios are like, what does it matter? They're gone anyway. Like, dude, they still have a shot, however unlikely it is that the scenarios can happen, and I'll get into those in a second. Like, why is it? Yeah, no, they suck. There's no way they can win out anyway. So, why are you a fan then? It's weird to me.
People are frustrated, Poop. It's the time of broken dreams, and they don't want to hear about the possibility of the lovely parting gift, and at this point, I think that people look at a playoff berth as all we're going to do is go get our teeth kicked in Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Buffalo or whatever, when in the previous 2 years, I think the feeling was we got a chance. Like, we got a chance to win this first round. So I think that it's the frustration and still the emotion of the 20-12 Houston loss and kind of the broken dreams of the last 3 years, right? I think that's what it's coming from more than anything.
Okay, I'll buy that. So
I'll say this to those people though. To me, as long as the Dolphins have a mathematical chance, Teron, if you're able, you're getting out there. Jordan Poyer, you're getting out there. Right? Javon Holland, I don't care about you not wanting to put bad stuff on film. You owe it to Calais Campbell and Kader Kohu and Zach Sealer and everybody else who is busting their butt to get out there and give it your best as long as we have a mathematical chance. And that's the other part of the people who say, I don't. No. If there's a chance, you need to get out there and bust your butt. And Mike McDaniel needs to give it his all and put the winning team and the winning game plan out there. Give that effort. You owe it to your teammates, your fans, your owner, and to the game. Give it a shot as long as there's a chance.
Completely agree. And again, I would ask fans right now, if I were to tell you the Dolphins, as improbable as it is, could get in the playoffs, more than likely get spanked in the first round. Would you not prefer that to them either finishing 9-8 anyway and not making the playoffs, or finishing 8-9 or 7-10? To me, it kind of, I don't know, it's pretty clear. Okay, so what needs to happen with the Chargers win against the Denver Broncos on Thursday night? This means the Dolphins now have to win out to have a shot. Plus, they need their four different scenarios. They need two of those to happen. That's either Baltimore losing out, Denver losing out, the Chargers losing out, or the Colts losing one game. They need two of those four things to happen, plus winning their final three games. And here's the craziest part. Did you know that I think if all four of those things happen, the Dolphins actually could be the number 5 seed? Okay, I'm going crazy. It's not going to happen.
Well, you know what? But look, and I know that this happens once in a lifetime, but if I'm not mistaken, didn't Big Ben in his last year, like 28 things had to happen and 29 things happened and they got in? Don't give up.
No, don't give up, because you look at it with all due respect, and Anthony Richardson, he's a quarterback. Don't tell me the Colts, even though they're playing Tennessee, the Giants, and Jacksonville, couldn't stink it up to the point of losing one of those games. And then Denver has at Cincinnati, which mathematically, barely, but mathematically is still in playoff contention. And then they play Kansas City in the season finale. And Kansas City might need that game to clinch a number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. If they don't, then it's going to be the JV team of the Chiefs. And then I have a hard time seeing Denver not getting that 10th win. So, and then, of course, go ahead.
No, and also, you know, I don't want to put bad voodoo out there, but one hit, Bo Nix, you never know. You never know what can happen. I know that Denver is mostly a defensive team, but if anybody loses their quarterback, game on. And every quarterback is one hit away. So you've got to give it your all, because how stupid would you feel if you didn't and these scenarios happen? Like you've got to give it your all. It's unlikely, but you got to do it.
No, correct. And then I can hear Dolphin fans going, you really think the Dolphins are going to win 3 in a row? Yeah, you know why? Because they're playing bad teams, and the Dolphins are good against bad teams.
Yes, that's right.
49ers right now, okay, they're not a bad team, except they're just got this injury all over the place. Yeah. The injury report is out for the game against the 49ers, Dolphins-49ers on Sunday. Trent Williams is out again, as we knew. Isaac Guerrero, their rookie running back, the 4th running back that they've gone through this year, is out. So it's going to be – go ahead, Dolphin fans. Tell me if you can name the running back who's going to start for them. Patrick Taylor.
Yeah.
Personally, I have no idea who he is. Nope. Other than the fact that I know he was the next in line for the 49ers. So this is a team that's been banged up. Also, they can't win close games. They're 2-5 in games decided by 1 score, so 8 points or less. How about that, huh?
Nice. That's a good note. I like that.
I'm about to put up a story on Miami Dolphins on SI.com, which I would encourage everyone to please check out for free. Not a shot at you. That's part of the reason, like examining, the parallels between the two teams that have had very disappointing seasons. So yeah, the Dolphins absolutely could win out because, again, they're playing bad team, which brings us, of course, to the game on Sunday. This is the first time you and I have talked. And again, let me slap myself in the face for thinking the Dolphins actually could beat a decent team. And it's like, and I get it. They didn't have either of the 2 tackles, no Kendall Lamb, no Teron Armstead. But still, I looked at the stats, some advanced stats here. I think Tua was pressured on 17% of his dropbacks. Wasn't even the highest total of the year.
Yep.
May not have been the second highest total of the year. Wasn't like he there was some pressure at times. Yeah, it wasn't like he was under duress the whole game. He wasn't good. No, I'm not putting the blame directly on him, because I don't do that. Just like I advise against everybody giving him all the praise when the passing numbers are great. Right. But again, he was more part of the problem than a possible solution. This is the part where we jump in. My thoughts.
I'll say this, Poop. I go back to the thing that Mike McDaniel said either before or right after the Green Bay game, either before or right after the Buffalo game, and it's that good teams will sit there and wait for you to make mistakes. And I think that's what Houston did, right? That's what Buffalo has done twice. That's what Green Bay did to the Dolphins. And that's what the Dolphins will self-implode, whether it's fumbles or turnovers or penalties or whatever. And that's the sign of a team that has many flaws as far as being able to do the routine thing, being able to do the heroic thing, being well coached. It reveals a lot of flaws, not irreparable flaws, but flaws that bring you down at crucial times against crucial opponents. That's what we've seen this season. I don't fear those same things happening in these last 3 games, but these last 3 games aren't as meaningful as Houston, Green Bay, and the 2 Buffalo games.
Yeah, and it just continued the pattern. It's going on 3 years now. And when I was arguing in the offseason against the idea of giving Tua a long-term contract extension, it wasn't necessarily – it was partly towards him, partly towards the makeup of the team. That to me was always – to me, there seems to be a ceiling there. Right. So the margin for error, because of the way they operate, is so small.
Right.
I would have needed to have seen some evidence that it can compete against the big boys at crunch time for me to be handing out, you get a new contract, you get a new contract, you get a new contract. That's like, man. And I think you may have written this, or it may have been your colleague, Dave Hyde. I apologize for not knowing who did what. But it was a whole lot of what's what I'm looking for. A reward for what exactly?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, when you don't win big games, to me, that's a lot of what the league is based on. You can look at all these numbers, but if you aren't winning the big games, you probably aren't making much progress toward a Super Bowl, right? I mean, we can all logically accept that. And that's what's been happening with the Dolphins. And so, I've been begging people to look inside the numbers that, okay, they won 9 games the first year, but only 2 of them were against playoff teams. You went 2-6. And then last year you were 11-6, but 1-6 against playoff teams. And now that's come to roost once again. As it stands, you're 1-4 against playoff teams. If Seattle makes the playoffs ahead of the Rams, you're 0-5 against playoff teams. And so this is a pattern that keeps repeating. And instead of just looking at the victory total, you have to look at who are we beating, who are we losing to, and why. Why are we losing? Why are we winning? And that's when you're going to start to get some answers about this team. You can't just look at the total number, because sometimes stats lie to you and other times they give you answers, but you didn't ask the right questions.
Waxing philosophical. I like that.
How about that?
Yeah. How about that? And then it's interesting. They're playing the 49ers on Sunday. And I might make the argument that I think the first game that gave us an indication that there's some structural flaws with this team was the last time they played the 49ers, which was, I want to say, the first Sunday in December in 2022 or the last Sunday in November. I don't recall which of the two.
Yeah.
And they got handled pretty good, even though it was a tight game. I think, remember, there was a 4th down incompletion to Mike Gesicki where the Dolphins had a chance to get back in the game, but the score wound up being like 33-17.
Yeah.
And this despite, and look at the stats, whenever there's an in-game quarterback change because of injury, the numbers are overwhelming against that team. Well, in that game, Jimmy Garoppolo got injured pretty quickly. I think it was Jalen Phillips who might have landed on his leg or something, or injured him. Yeah. And then Brock Purdy came in, and thus began the legend of Brock Purdy. Or that's whether he's a legend or how great a quarterback he is, a different story.
Yes.
That I'll just be discussing probably on Saturday with my good friend Grant Cohn, the publisher of the San Francisco 49ers on SI. But it showed the Dolphins in that particular game. That was a big boy game, and they weren't ready for big boy football, and nothing has changed since then, really.
Exactly. And Poop, always tell people also, when you talk about the Dolphins offense and you look at these point totals, again, go 1 level deep. 2 levels deep. So if I'm not mistaken, this was the game 33-17 where the offense scored 2 touchdowns, but one of those touchdowns was the Tyreek Hill 53-yard fumble scoop, right? That was the other game. That was the Chargers game. Okay.
Yeah. The one against the 49ers was the 80-yard touchdown to Trent Sherfield.
That's what it was. It was a big play, right? It was a big play right at the start. So, a lot of this stuff that you see, you just wonder, is this sustainable? Whether it's the big play and I always say, look at how many touchdowns they score. This was a game where you scored your offense scored 2 touchdowns. And I say this all the time, the 34-31 playoff game at Buffalo, your offense scored 2 touchdowns. You had that Zach Sealer fumble return. If I'm not mistaken, the game at Philadelphia, was that a 33-17 also, or 23-17? But if I'm not mistaken, Jerome Baker had a pick 6 in that game, right? So the offense scores 1 touchdown. You have to look at what you take the Buffalo game this season at Buffalo, you lose 30-27. Okay, you scored 27 points, but your offense scored 3 touchdowns. You need to score 4 touchdowns. The offense has to score more touchdowns. I'm sorry, Poop. I don't want to. Do you want to go through that one again?
No. We're not
Okay.
gonna.
All right.
I'll just
But
say,
I'm just saying
sure.
that, look, that
Hold on. Don't, gang. No, what can I do? Here we go. Gang, don't listen to him. Go ahead, Perk.
that's fine. That's fine. I just think that day, look, you can appreciate this, Poop. That day in Buffalo, very briefly,
Yeah.
that is the best offense Mike McDaniel will ever field as a Dolphins coach. You had all 5 of your Pro Bowl starters. Everybody was healthy, right? Devon Achane was healthy. OBJ was healthy. Jonnu Smith was healthy. Austin Jackson was healthy. Defensively, you didn't have Zach Sealer. You didn't have Jalen Phillips. You didn't have Bradley Chubb. You didn't have Javon Holland. You didn't have Cater Kohu. You didn't have Storm Duck. You're on your 3rd team nickel, and you're telling the defense you need to do more? Like the offense can have 3 touchdowns, and then the rest of the day you're off? This is the best, most loaded offense Mike McDaniel ever had under this regime. He had all right. You had your tight end, your slot receiver, Achane healthy, Raheem healthy, Teron healthy, Austin Jackson healthy. Sorry, that was your showcase event. The big game against Buffalo on the road. That was the showcase event for your offense. You scored 3 touchdowns. Congratulations. Sorry, you needed to do more. Sorry. Sorry.
No, you're not. Who are you kidding? You're not sorry.
No,
I'm not. You're like Pee-wee. You like Pee-wee Herman. Like, sorry, not sorry.
Pee-wee Herman reference. Wow.
How about that, right? And my very bad Pee-wee Herman impression. So please forgive me for that. I hear what you're saying. That again, but no. To me, it was like the offense wasn't bad that day. It maybe needed to be just a little bit better. And
that's the whole point. Like the offense at some point has to snatch that victory. Again, look, you look at Josh, when the Dolphins have gone up there under Mike McDaniel, Josh Allen has put at least 30 on them every game. What made you think that a broken down defense with no Sealer, no Phillips, no Chubb, no Holland, no Cater Kohu is going to hold Josh Allen to under 30 on this day at Highmark? Like, why would you even think that?
Again, except... And then we're going to move on because we're relitigating stuff. But I could play devil's advocate and say if Jordan Poyer shows a little bit more discretion,
you're correct.
Get the ball back at the end of the game with a chance to go win. So
you're 100% correct.
To me, that game is not really an example of how the Dolphins keep coming up short in big games. The games at Green Bay, and again, one could say it's later in the season that they have their issues. Even the game against the Rams that they went on the road against a team currently in the playoff spot was mid-November.
Yes.
Come to me when they went on the road against a big boy team in December.
Correct. I agree.
Against Green Bay was in December, was Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
Weren't really that competitive. It was 27-3 in the third quarter. And against Houston, that thing was butt ugly. And the defense balled out like crazy.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. So let's move on. Injury report. It looks like after missing the 2 tackles in the game against the Texans, both of them might be back. Would be nice to have them both back, considering they're playing Nick Bosa. Fred Warner, Greenlaw might play. There is still some talent in that 49ers defense. Kendall Lamb was a full participant in practice on Friday. That's good news. He's questionable. Teron Armstead is questionable. And then Jalen Waddle and D. Eskridge, the 2 wide receivers, are doubtful. And then Tyreek Hill shows up today after getting rest on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday, shows up as limited, questionable, and it's wrist/personal. Like, what the hell is going on? And because he had been a full participant in practice on Thursday, and Mike McDaniel, in a very unusual move, spoke after practice Friday. Nobody asked about Tyreek. There was no reason to ask. So we don't know what's going on with him, but it's just weird. And then this, of course, comes after another tweeting episode. Yes, I'm with you on that one. So that's weird. I don't know what to make of it.
I'm saying it's another troll job. I shouldn't doubt Tyreek with it. I'm serious.
You think you had Mike McDaniel put him? Hey,
No,
Put on
I
the injury
think
report, get people going.
no, I think that after yesterday's locker room session where he's asked about what about the wrist? Well, there's still a lot of pain. I might need surgery after the season, and I'm sorry, he's lost credibility with me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't doubt him, but I shouldn't. I could see a scenario where you get treatment just to keep the thing. I shouldn't even say this. All right, let's. I just smell a troll job. I don't know.
Man.
This is bad. I know I shouldn't say this. This is bad. But I just, what got y'all better than I expected or something. He's gotten his credibility now is just kind of like, how could you be so toned after fans? I just don't get this, and somebody's got to talk to this guy.
Oh no, I agree. Perk, and I put this on my column on MiamiDolphinsOnTheSide.com, where the content is free. No shot at anybody.
I like it.
And I use the term tone deaf. Like, go watch the movie Fever Pitch if you've never seen it, with Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore. And he's like, if you don't know the story, he's this maniacal Red Sox fan. And him and his buddies are like, when they go down 3-0 in the 2004 ALCS against the Yankees. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
When they go to a restaurant or a bar and they see some Red Sox players enjoying a meal, and Jimmy Fallon always comes to the realization that, oh yeah, they should be allowed to enjoy a meal after a game. It's not like they're not trying and everything like that. That's the same thing with Tyreek. When he says I'm just having fun, all that, that's good.
Right.
I appreciate and understand that there are a lot of fans, Dolphin fans, who are very, very frustrated by what's going on, who pour their heart and soul into the team. And I don't know, maybe not troll everybody all the time because you think it's funny. That's like seriously, especially considering you're having the crappiest season of your career. And our good buddy, and unfortunately, since I didn't do a show this week, I couldn't have him on, but he kind of suggested trading Tyreek in the offseason. And I'm like, who's trading for him?
Right. I mean, yeah, listen, I mean, Kansas City, dude, again, the 5-for-1 trade, and then you win two back-to-back Super Bowl titles, and you're in line to maybe make another Super Bowl visit. You're just going to get pennies on the dollar for Tyreek. You're better off keeping all this talent together and making one more run at it and seeing what happens. But I just, and I talked to some players, and, Calais Campbell being the most prominent, and I asked him, do you think, you should talk to Tyreek? And he said, no, Tyreek can do whatever Tyreek wants to do. He's a grown man. He's only having fun. He doesn't mean any disrespect, but I'm just like, there's this saying that there's two parts to communication: how the message is sent and how the message is received. Yep. And you have to think about both parts of it. And if Tyreek doesn't understand that, somebody needs to pull him aside and say, look, Tyreek, there's people out here who give their hard-earned money to pay to watch you guys play, and this means something to them. And I don't doubt that it means something to Tyreek. I don't doubt that for 1 second. Yeah. But he's just got to be more sensitive to the people that are hurting right now. That it's been 24 years. Like, this isn't life or death, but this does mean something to people.
No, without question. And to me, at the absolute very least, it shows it shows immaturity. It's like,
yes,
you can't step outside of yourself for 2 seconds to realize that what you're doing. And he, again, it's not like he doesn't know. He knows. Like you mentioned the tweet of like saying,
yes,
got y'all. or wow,
right.
That took off like I didn't expect. Come on, seriously, really?
Yeah,
sure. Pull the other leg. It plays Jingle Bells. Please tell me you'd heard that one before.
I don't think I have. I think that's the first time.
It's a good day. It's a good day. You've learned something new.
That's right. I like that. I'm a simpleton, but I really like that.
Feel free to use it by all means. You have my permission. No, and again, the thing is, he's just not been particularly effective. He wasn't good against Houston.
Yep.
Although the pick over the middle, it's one of those, if you see the replay, particularly the replay from behind Tua, there was a linebacker in the way, because I know people want to give Tyreek some flack for not cutting the route sharper as opposed to running it off. There's a linebacker who was in the way. And not only that, the safety who picked it off, Bullock, earlier in the game had made the same move of coming straight at Tua over the middle when Tua was trying to hit Jonnu Smith, and he got a PBU then, and then that was kind of the same throw, and then it's like Bullock was like, oh yeah, I know what's coming, and then boom. So I don't know about that one. The other one, the one that is sounded, because it's like all three picks were intended for Tyreek, and then the second one is the one on the sideline where Derek Stingley basically like, oh, I know what's coming, I know the route that's coming. And then the third one, somebody brought up a good point. I hadn't thought about that when it happened. Is it possible? And I don't think anybody asked Tyreek this, that the wrist injury might have been a factor in Stingley's ability to pull the ball away from Tyreek once he had his two hands on it.
It's possible. It's possible. This wrist injury, I just. The last time that I looked at the wrist, a home game, and I can't remember if it was New England or Vegas, but I just remember that he had his gloves off, and the left wrist is not taped, but the right thumb is. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I just find that it's just peculiar.
Trolling you. He's trolling you.
It's peculiar. It's peculiar.
I mean, mess with Perkins' mind.
Right, exactly.
He probably took off the tape right before you showed up,
Right. I've seen this guy tweeting about this before. Let me troll him. Yeah.
No, and there were a lot of things wrong with that particular play. First of all, Tyreek didn't get necessarily great separation. Yep. If you look at the overhead shot. Number two, the ball was thrown behind him a little bit, not in front of him. It wasn't a great throw. And then Tyreek got both hands on the ball. And so there were a lot of issues. And this goes along the same way of just Tyreek not having a great year. To me, I haven't seen the same explosive guy that I saw in 2022 and 2023, where he was like different. This year, he's just very fast. He's not different anymore. And that may not be a big difference, but in the grand scheme of things, especially for how the Dolphins offense operates, that's a big deal.
I go back and forth on that. I do think that we're seeing the same Tyreek, but I would be willing to admit that I'm wrong. I've had a couple of ex-players tell me that they don't think that it's the same Tyreek. The Tyreek Hill that I know, that I'm used to seeing, that we're all used to seeing, that you see bust his ass every day in practice and training camp. He's one of the hardest practicing players that I've ever been around, and he's one of the hardest playing players. He's a troll and all that stuff, but when Tyreek steps between those lines, he's about it. And so I really have not, maybe the last interception against Stingley, maybe, but I don't think that I've seen examples of Tyreek dogging it. I've seen Tyreek out there blocking. I don't think he's okay. I'm falling off.
Yeah, I never use the word dogging. I don't want that out there.
You did not. You're correct. You did not. I don't see that his game has fallen off. Again, maybe I'm not looking at the right things. He's clearly not having the success that he's had the previous 2 years. Nowhere near. And I can't figure out for the life of me how being pressed at the line of scrimmage and seeing cover two all of a sudden is flustering him. Like, he's had to have seen this since Pop Warner. Like, correct. He's always been the best player on the field. So that part, if you show me evidence and then I could believe it. But right now, I don't know. I don't know, which is probably the worst answer you can give on a podcast, right? I don't know. But I don't know why.
Makes for great video and audio. Thanks, Perk.
Right. Tune in for Perk to tell you he doesn't know. I know. Right.
Perplexed Perk.
Right. Exactly.
No, and the other part we can't forget, and I keep bringing this up, and before we move on to another very popular topic here, Lee Meikenberg. Knee surgery before the season started, had the wrist, had the thumb.
Did he have knee surgery or blood spinning?
Well, wasn't that kind of? No, I believe he said he had surgery after the incident of the season opener.
But has that ever been confirmed? He told us he went to Antigua to have the blood spinning, and we asked Mike McDaniel, and he said something about a procedure. If I'm not mistaken, I
could have sworn I heard him, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But that also makes for great podcasting. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I believe he said something about a surgery. But anyway, but then he had also like the foot injury that occurred in practice. So he's been back. Okay.
Yeah.
So Liam Eichenberg. Cryptic answers from offensive coordinator Frank Smith about the offensive line, about Isaiah Wynn maybe being inserted in the lineup. And then Liam Eichenberg speaks to three of my peers, Barry Jackson, David Furones, Joe Shad, talking about his situation. They're asking him, do you think are you going to keep your starting job? And his answer is basically, I don't know. And it was a kind of answer that kind of suggests, no, I'm not starting, but I can't tell you guys. If you read the quote, and I know a lot of Dolphin fans are like, thank you. Yes, thank you. And sadly, it's you can't argue with it. I mean, it's been rough. How much better is the offensive line going to be with Isaiah Wynn instead of Liam Eichenberg?
Don't know. You would really, I mean, I guess really you're hoping that if nothing else, Isaiah Wynn can stand his ground. Man, Danico Autry was the strip sack of Will Anderson. Danico Autry just pushes Liam back into Tua's lap. And it just, like, by the time Will Anderson comes from the blind side beating Jackson Carman, I think Tua's worried about what's right in front of him. I don't think he's even thinking about Will Anderson because he's got to avoid Liam, who at 6'5" is like right in his face. Danico Autry dominated Liam, and I'm a Liam fan. Danico Autry dominated Liam, and it's probably time for a change there.
No, it was bad. And by the way, if you remember that play, there was coming pressure from the outside. There's pressure up the middle.
Yep.
This is a time when we talk about pocket presence. That was a time to tuck the ball in and take the sack as opposed to having the ball out and letting the guy strip you. That was not a great, when we talk about Tua's off day, that was part of it. I mean, obviously it's porous pass protection, but you got to protect the ball. And with the thing with Liam going back again, can't help but go back. And I did a comparison. The Dolphins and the Detroit Lions, because to me, they kind of like were in a similar mode of rebuilding and all that. A lot of draft picks on both sides, and where it went awry, and where the two franchises kind of took different paths, one for the better and one for better for us for a certain time, but not great. Is the 2021 draft because of what happened in the first round with the Dolphins taking Jalen Waddle instead of Penei Sewell.
Yep.
Which to me, I'm sorry, that was the wrong choice. And because you give me a foundational offensive lineman over a foundational wide receiver. No, excuse me, against a good wide receiver.
Yes.
One is not foundational, sorry. Every day of the week. And if you see the reaction, it's actually a great clip of the Lions war room when they see the Dolphins taking Jalen Waddle and they're going crazy. And Dan Campbell, if you can believe that, showing like raving like a madman. Shocking, right? And then to make it worse, in the second round, the Dolphins give up a future third-round pick to move up from 50 to 42 to take Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
And the book on Liam Eichenberg coming out of Notre Dame was he may be the most NFL-ready offensive lineman, but he's got a ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has not – and I like Liam too. He's a good guy, but that's just not planned out. And I think as I joked to one of my colleagues in a direct message, I think we're pretty safe in saying the Dolphins are not applying the franchise tag on him next offseason.
Probably. Yeah. I think it was between him and Javon Holland. And so they decided we'll just pass on both of them. Yeah. You know what, Poop? And I tweeted this, and if I've got my numbers correct, since the Dolphins and Lions met in 2022, October 27th, 31-27 win for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are 21-21 and 0-2 in the playoffs, and the Lions are 34-10 and 2-1 in the playoffs. And so it's like it's like a 773 winning percentage versus 500. I mean, Stark just went totally different directions.
Yeah, and one of the reasons is the Lions, and this is we could go ahead and get into another discussion, another Chris Greer discussion, which I know fans want his head on a platter.
Yes.
But look at the Lions drafts. Like, oh my God, one of the drafts last year, it was Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. I mean, holy, you're talking four, like,
right.
And the Dolphins have never had. Then the Dolphins had 9. We're going to go back to these. 9 picks in the first 2 rounds in 2020 and 2021, and they didn't max them out. And yes, I know every team has hits and misses. The Dolphins wound up with Tua, Austin Jackson, Noah Benogany, Robert Hunt, Raekwon Davis, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, and Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
They didn't max them out. And
right.
Just flat out didn't max them out. And that's how you get a rebuild that's kind of sputtering right now. In fact, going backwards. I know you wrote a column at sunsentinel.com, which I encourage everyone to check out. I believe your column was running back one more year. And my question to you then, Perk, if you're running back one more year, why would it be any different? And would that be good enough, what they could accomplish?
Here's where I'm at very briefly. I think the Dolphins need a new 3-year plan. Obviously, they do. But before you decide who's going to be your coach and who's going to be your GM, I would have Chris Grier come in, if I'm Tom Garfinkel and Steve Ross, and say, present me with your 3-year plan. And I'm not joking here. If this thing is based on speed as opposed to aggression, get the hell out of my office right now. You and Mike McDaniel, you can go. I think that this team has talent, and it can be retooled and refocused toward a more physical, aggressive mindset in everything that they do. And in play calling, that means on 3rd and 1 offensively, no more jet sweep. We're lining up in the eye. We're knocking your butt off the line of scrimmage, and we're running you over. That's a mentality. Defensively, when we face 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 4 or whatever, we're not calling some tricked up blitz. We're controlling the game with our front 4. You're not running on us. If you want to pass, our edge rushers are coming at you. If you want to run, our 2 interior defensive linemen or 3 are going to control the line of scrimmage. This is what Buffalo does to them, what Kansas City does to them, what Philly does to them. They need to have that mentality. I don't know if Grier and McDaniel can switch to that. They have to do that without being fake. But I do say this also, Poop. I favor keeping them together. Number one, because the culpability is equal among both of them for building this roster. Number two, and most importantly, I think if you just get rid of Grier and bring in a new GM, you invite dysfunction. I think it will become obvious to Mike McDaniel and Tua that they're a 1-year fix. They're lame duck people. And we're going to be out of here next year, would occur to a lot of assistant coaches, scouts, and that it would foster a every man for himself attitude. One thing that I will give McDaniel and Grier credit for, they have solidified that building, right? We remember when Steve Ross had 8 people in his ear, and each one was trying to climb the ladder of success. At least with I was going to say McGreer. With Grier, I should say McGreer, shouldn't I? With Grier and McDaniel. That is good, huh? With Grier and McDaniel, at least everybody's pulling in the same direction, pulling on the same rope. So I would say to give them one more chance to dig their way out of it.
Yeah, and here's the thing from where I sit, it's like, forget what we want or think should happen. First of all, to me, this idea that Stephen Ross would give Mike McDaniel a contract extension when he had 2 years left on his contract, only to dump him because of one bad season, I think that's not based in reality. I don't see that happening, particularly since, remember, Mike McDaniel, based on the reporting, actually the words of, reporting, Mike McDaniel kind of said it himself as well, that he kind of walked into the office and said, no, you're not trading Calais Campbell. Yes. Well, this is sounds like a coach who was given a little bit more authority in personnel say. So to pin everything that's happened, like maybe this year or the year before, on Chris Grier, when Mike McDaniel clearly had a voice, is not fair to Chris Grier, if we're going to be honest about it. And I don't want to hear the buck stops at the GM. Well, no, if your owner says you guys work together, you make decisions in collaboration. No, then the bus doesn't stop here. And then the other part of it is, when the second you throw out all those extensions and new contracts to Tyreek, Waddle, and Tua, that's your identity. Right. I don't know how you can expect to have a physical, power-based offense when you have so much money invested in wide receiver. And now whether that was wise easily could be debated, and kind of leaning towards right now, no. But that's what the Dolphins did. And they also gave Tua an awful lot of money. And if it's not beyond the fact that you can't have all this expenditure at wide receiver and not at least try to make good use of those guys, even though it didn't happen last year. I mean, this year, I should say. You also have a quarterback who can't contribute to a physical aspect of any running game whatsoever because of his size and his injury history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Josh Allen, who'll pick up first downs all over the place. Jalen Hurts with that annoying tush push, which is highly effective, but it's annoying as hell. Patrick Mahomes, who will scramble like crazy all the time, picks up key first downs. The only guy I can think of who plays in Lamar Jackson, who might as well be another running back. The only guy I can think of who plays on a team that's kind of more physical than finesse on offense and doesn't contribute very much is Detroit. Yes. But that's kind of an outlier because they have the best offensive line in the NFL. But Goff still will pick up the occasional quarterback sneak. So I don't know that. I don't know that they can change, that they kind of basically were sort of committed to this nucleus and this style of play for another year. And this is where somebody would say, hey, it sucks this year. Last year we were 11-4 playing for the number 1 seed. We're going to Baltimore late in the year.
Yeah, I think this team that's coming in here Sunday is a good blueprint for the Dolphins from the standpoint of, and I've said this since after 2022, the Dolphins need to build a complete team. You got a good left tackle, and they're not going to have a Trent Williams at left tackle, but you've got a good left tackle. You've got a good tight end in Kittle. You've got a good slot receiver with Debo. You've got Ayuk. You've got CMC. You've got Fred Warner. You've got, I don't know how to pronounce the safety's name, Hufanga. He's always injured. But you have some star players at so many positions, and you have different ways to make game-changing and game-winning plays. The 49ers aren't some physical, aggressive team, but Trent Williams will knock your butt on the ground. That's what you kind of need, and they can get that yard when they need that yard. So that's what I'm talking about. Toughness is as much a mentality and a mindset and a play calling thing as much as having a bunch of Richie Incognitos.
Okay.
I know that's
I like it. And again, this goes back. You mentioned the quality of the roster of the 49ers. It goes back to drafting. This is where the Dolphins have, again, everybody has hits and misses, but you have some teams that have a lot more hits. Some teams have more misses. And the Dolphins right now, we're talking about Lee Meikenberg, looks like a miss in the second round. Cam Smith, it's only 2 years in. Sure kind of looks like a miss right now.
Yep.
So,
and you're going to let some homegrown talent walk with Javon Holland, another second-round pick, I know he's not – I wouldn't re-sign him for the price he's going to get. David Mogetta is his agent, Christian Wilkins' agent. He gets guys paid. I understand that. I wasn't going to bring Wilkins back for that price. I wasn't going to bring Hunt back for that price, but you're letting so much drafted talent walk out the door.
This is where the argument could be made that maybe the Dolphins needed to be more proactive with Robert Hunt, for example. And I don't know how amenable they would have been to signing a contract extension, or they were adamant about, I'm going to test the market because I'm going to make buco bucks. I don't know that Robert Hunt, the year before he was to become a free agent, would have expected to get $100 million over 5 years. I don't know that.
Or you were late on Christian Wilkins. You let the dude get 9 sacks or whatever he got, and then he priced himself out of the market. I mean, you got to be on top of things also.
Okay, we're going to close it out here with a quick prediction because your video quality is.
Yeah, you know what? I've got my blinds closed and the TV is on, and it's a bad decision by me. I know.
Dealing with amateurs, I tell you. Okay.
It's rough. It's rough.
We're gonna wrap. As if you've been a longtime follower of the or viewer of the All Dolphins podcast, you know we're very, very big on production quality here. Okay. It's all about substance over style here, baby. Okay. Any thoughts, parting thoughts, since I won't speak to you until after the game on this 49ers game?
I'm saying Dolphins 24, 49ers 20. Don't hold me to that because I don't know how motivated either team is going to be.
Well, they're both mathematically still alive in the playoff chase, so I don't think motivation is going to be an issue. I'm my final score prediction is going to come out in my game preview Saturday morning. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Dolphins because this is not a great 49ers team. Because otherwise, right now, if they're playing any good team anytime, I'm picking against. I've learned my lesson. Every time I think this is going to be different. It's going to be different, and I get bit. And it's not. By the way, it's not because if you follow the podcast, it's not because I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a blind fan.
Homer.
Exactly. It's not because I'm a blind homer, because I'm a journalist and I actually did believe that it was going to change. But nope, same old Dolphins as I wrote earlier this week. And before he completely disappears from the screen, we're going to wrap it up. Everyone, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, thanks everyone who reached out. Very, very much appreciated the kind words and all that. Be back tomorrow, as I mentioned, with Grant Cohn, the publisher of the 49ers on SI site, where we'll talk some more. And you don't want to miss it because Grant's a trip. You think I'm harsh? Woo! Grant is not afraid to rip.
Yes.
Go Google him if you know
Nice.
COHN. So until then, again, thanks everyone for watching. As I look for the logo to wrap this up. And we will see everyone on Saturday. Thanks.